Hello, cheaters. It's an early 3. I don't know, my glasses on, and my eyes haven't started quite working yet. I think that says 3:18 a.m. Excellent. We're starting early. Oh yeah, let me check the chat here. Testing chat. Chat appears to be working. All right. This morning, I want to talk about growth and inner circles. And maybe, just maybe, windsurf, Anthropic, and OpenAI. Maybe. We'll see. We're going to get to this. But we may not get to it right away. As per always, let's start with our music for the morning. I have to have that background music going. It is Psycher from Dream Clinic, which are these guys. The guys I just cannot get enough of, can I? This one might be wow, I might not be the only one that really loves this one. Let me just fiddle with something real quick over here. It's my YouTube thingamabob trying to show me about my streaming. I'm still learning how to use this silly thing. Okay. That's working well enough. All right. So now let's talk about growth and inner circles. I have mentioned this many times before. We're going to go back to this real quick. At some point, I am going to create a new version of these slides, because I've grown quite a bit since creating these original ones, and I've got some new ones and some modifications to make. But this one, hi there. This one really matters. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people may not think about this one as much as maybe we should. Which is strange to me because I know a lot of people are focused on things like self-growth and this thing, continuing to learn, exercising, seeing opportunity, not being negative, all of these things. And that's fantastic. And I love the fact that we are emphasizing focus on ourselves. That's great. Absolutely, we should be doing this. Starting with ourselves, I think, is absolutely the right thing to do. However, our inner circle and the people that we surround ourselves with directly impacts us. And having the right inner circle, at least for me personally, has sort of changed everything in my life. And it's not easy. I think this might be part of the reason why this can be challenging, is it's not easy to make decisions on these types of things to remove people or add people, especially when, so as far as the question on the chat, I think that there's a variety of things that we want to, at least for me personally, so I'm going to try to not project my value system because everyone's different. But for me personally, what I tend to focus on with the people I want in my inner circle is I tend to want people that are following the same principles in life that I follow. Because then those people oftentimes I find hold me accountable, and those people make me better. So for example, sometimes I'll forget to foster goodwill. I'll get like a little frustrated. And then my inner circle will say, hey, Goju, are you fostering goodwill right now? Like, it seems as though you're not giving this person a chance. And then I'll say, that's an excellent point. I'm being a little bit too unfair right now. And thank you for giving me that feedback, right? So for my take, as far as the people that I'm trying to surround myself with, I find that they tend to be people that follow these similar principles. So I want to take a moment and show you something that I saw this morning on Instagram. And we're going to listen to him talk and share his views. And then we're going to go back and we're going to dissect this sort of one sentence at a time and try to understand if this aligns with kind of the things that we may think. So let's give this a shot. And here we go. Okay, yeah, and thanks for stopping by. The full stream will be available later in 4K. Cheers. Hope you guys have a great day. All right, here we go. Okay. The audio is not coming in. That's okay. Give me a sec. Oh, it's probably just... Is he muted? Yeah, he's muted. Okay. Here we go. Let's try this again.
Circle. There's a reason I stopped hanging out with certain people, not because I'm better, but because the conversation stays the same. Complain, blame, judging others without a single ounce of self-reflection. That's not connection, that's noise. Then I found my people. Entrepreneurs, book club friends, my coach, snowboard instructor, diving buddies, running crew, high rocks team, friends and family, life partner. All from different backgrounds, but one thing in common, they want to grow, mentally, physically, emotionally. And the conversation, they spark something in me. Your circle is your mirror. You don't rise when you're surrounded by comfort zone. You rise when you're surrounded by curiosity, discipline, ambition. And sometimes, the best mental clarity comes from cutting off the noise. Not everyone deserves your mental strength. Some people, they don't need saving. They need to save themselves. High performer don't guess their circle. They audit it. Comment circle to grab the audit checklist. Why nobody talks about the cost of staying
One more
in
time.
the wrong circle? There's a reason I stopped hanging out with certain people, not because I'm better, but because the conversation stays the same. Complain, blame, judging others without a single ounce of self-reflection. That's not connection, that's noise. Then I found my people. Entrepreneurs, book club friends, my coach, snowboard instructor, diving buddies, running crew, high rocks team, friends and family, life partner. All from different backgrounds, but one thing in common, they want to grow, mentally, physically, emotionally. And the conversation, they spark something in me. Your circle is your mirror. You don't rise when you're surrounded by comfort zone. You rise when you're surrounded by curiosity, discipline, ambition. And sometimes, the best mental clarity comes from cutting off the noise. Not everyone deserves your mental strength. Some people, they don't need saving. They need to save themselves. High performer don't guess their circle. They audit it. Comment circle to grab the audit checklist. Why nobody talks?
Okay. I think there's a lot to break down there. So we're going to try to go through this one piece at a time and then see what we can see. So
about the cost of staying.
The first part he talks about is the cost. It's actually quite interesting, I think. He talks about the cost of staying in the wrong circle. This is an interesting take because I try to frame this sort of in the choose your inner circle wisely. You want to have people that are going to support you, help you grow, all of this type of thing. And then he's essentially saying, well, cool, that's good. Focus on that. But what if you invert it? What if you instead take the position of what is the cost of not being around the right people? How is this hurting you? So rather than focusing on you're going to build the right circle, what are you losing by being around the wrong people today? And honestly, this is how I started working sort of in this space. Is I was asking myself, why was I running into so many struggles on some of the things that I wanted to do? Again, this is just me, but I'm a fairly fired up person. There's things that I want to do, and I think deeply on these things. And then once I sort of make my mind up that I'm going to go after these things, I then will share this with people. And part of the reason why I share this, especially with my inner circle, is I want my inner circle to hold me accountable. I'm not sharing these things so I can flex and I can talk about how, oh, look at me, I'm going to go run a marathon, or, oh, I'm going to create a startup, or, oh, I'm going to teach at this university, and I'm amazing. I do it because I have moments of doubt where I think, can I actually do this? This is going to be hard. This is going to be a lot of work. Is this the right thing? And in my heart of hearts, I know, no, this is the right thing. I should be doing this. So when I share it with other people, what I find is that now I'm essentially forced to be accountable. It triggers something inside of me personally where I then am responsible. I've said it to people that I respect, and I'm on the hook now. This is part of the reason why I say it. Now, think about this for just a second. Walk with me on this. Imagine that you have an inner circle that doesn't support your growth, that doesn't support these amazing ideas that you have about trying to make yourself better. And when you share these things about how you're going to grow and you're going to push the envelope forward and you're going to try to become a better version of yourself, some of those people, they may feel challenged by that. They may feel a level of maybe insecurity about that. And they may have things that they need to sort out. Unfortunately, they can also see that as you starting to have a departure from where they... I didn't even see the comment. It was too small. I saw it now. Anyway, so the... Sorry, I got distracted for a second. The point is that people, I think, will sometimes see us breaking away from these inner circles, and they may be afraid of this. They may want to stop this from happening and stop us from growing, which is understandable, right? I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm actually trying to practice empathy and understand where they may be coming from. The problem, though, is that if you have aspirations on trying to do incredible things, you are likely going to be anomalous. You're going to be different. You're going to be exceptional. And therefore, the inner circle that you have, maybe in your childhood, is not necessarily the inner circle that you're going to have as you get further in life, when you start doing things like mentor or you start teaching at places like this, right? Like you're going to, and again, it is not in any way a judgment on thinking that you're better than someone else. That's not what I'm saying here at all. I don't actually hold these views. It's merely about understanding if you're traveling on the same road. For example, I think that people that are medical doctors, I think, add tremendous value to the world, and they do incredibly amazing things for our health and our community. I don't have many medical doctors in my inner circle. Does that mean I look down on them? No. They're just sort of not the same birds of a feather for me. I more am around technologists, professors, researchers, entrepreneurs, founders, athletes, things like that, because these are more just the things that I do. I don't generally perform surgery. And I have a couple medical doctors that are in my inner circle, and I think they're great. But it's not like an incredibly large number. So I think the first point that he's making about there is a cost of staying in the wrong circles, this is, I think, very, very important, and something that I think about deeply. And as I've mentioned many times, and I've spoken with many of the people in my inner circle, if there isn't some degree of alignment with my folks in my inner circle along these dimensions, what I'll generally do is have a conversation with the person. I'll talk to them and say, I feel like you're a great person, but I think maybe we can work on having more small footsteps every day. Or I think you're an amazing person, but I feel like sometimes you can get distracted by these little things and it can stop your growth, right? Or you hold grudges, and I think you might be stronger if you didn't. And the truth is, I want my inner circle to do the same thing with me, right? There's certain things that I'm better at than some folks in my inner circle, and there's certain things that they're better at than I am. And so we help each other, right? We're a community of people that are moving all sort of in the same direction, and we're trying to make each other better. And that is one of the big things that I think about for the inner circle. So now let's go back. We've discussed the cost, and I think he's going to show some of these downsides. And I have to say, truthfully, like the things that he shows here, these are some of the biggest red flags for me for people that want to be in my inner circle. And again, I'm not trying to make a judgment here. I'm just trying to say what's important for me. I'm not big into, like the party scene and clubbing and drinking so much alcohol to where we're getting like drunk out of our minds. And I'm not saying that there wasn't a time when I was younger that those things weren't interesting. So like if you're young and you're exploring, no judgment here. But let me just say, when you're doing these things maybe experimentally, I think it's one thing. When you're doing them and it is habitual, I think it's totally different. Like having a party once a year and, getting a little crazy, okay, maybe that's something to do. But if you're doing it every weekend and you're getting like blackout drunk, that might not be the healthiest thing, right? And again, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just trying to say that there might be other activities that you can do that could maybe be better for you long term, because I think that there are some ramifications with getting too maybe off the rails. So let's see a quick example of what he's going to talk about with this. having the wrong circle.
In the wrong circle. There's a reason I stop hanging out with certain people, not because I'm better, but because the conversation stays the same.
Conversation stays the same. I think many of you have probably experienced this. I know that I have. One of the first things that I find that is maybe a red flag for me is people who complain. If the conversation is constantly about, I'm annoyed by this person, I'm annoyed by this happened, and I'm like the victim, I'm just not much of a complainer. Life happens, and I'm not trying to lack empathy, but there's a point to where you can either realize that you're in charge of how you respond to the world and have the narrative of your life be dictated by that, the way you respond, versus the world like acting on you and you being victimized by it. And again, I'm not, we've spoken about this many times. I'm not saying that the world's fair. It's not fair. It's not fair for a lot of us. We're given certain gifts. We're not given other gifts. There's all kinds of immutable properties that we're born with that advantage us or disadvantage us. It's super unfair. But we can either choose to move forward with the cards we've been dealt with, or we can choose to complain about how unfair it is. And frankly, and I don't mean this to like be overly morbid or anything, but we're all going to the same destination here. The same destination is at some point we're not going to be around. And so my view is, while we are around, let's make the most of it. Let's make every day matter. Let's consider that life is a blessing, and let's just experience life to its fullest. And I think in order to do that, a big thing that you should do is stop being a victim. Stop complaining. Yes, life is hard. Yes, things are unfair. And then just acknowledge that and say, okay, this is not super great. Time to suck it up, Goju. Let's move forward. Okay. So complaining, the other thing is growth. And then I think the other thing is just trying to cloak the pain. Oh, there's many others, but back to him. Let's let him talk for like at least 3 seconds. Okay.
Complain, blame,
Complain, blame, judge others. Yeah. Complain, blame, and judge others. So I try very hard not to complain. I try very hard not to blame. I do sometimes get judgy with people. This is a character flaw. It's something I'm working on. This is why I leave it on here. And again, like this is something that's really helpful. Like, for example, Taylor Dolezal, my chief of staff, and one of my very good friends, becoming one of my closest friends, he's really good at not doing this. He's better at not doing this than I am. And I admire that in him. And I learn from him on how he does this, and it makes me better. And so this goes back to this idea that you can surround yourself with an inner circle with people that are going to be better at certain characteristics than you, and then you can learn from them.
judging others without a single ounce of self-reflection.
Single ounce of self-reflection, right? So, not to toot my own horn, but that's what I'm doing here. Is I'm not complaining about the world and saying how unfair it is. I'm like saying, no, Goju, you should be better. Like, stop being judgy on them. Be more judgy on you. and be better about this. Like, what are you doing wrong? Stop being so critical of the rest of the world. Point those fingers inward and get yourself to become better.
That's not connection, that's noise. Then I found my people: entrepreneurs, book club friends, my coach, snowboard instructor, diving buddies, running crew, High Rocks team, friends and family.
Okay, all the things that he mentioned up to the friends and family, I think it's very interesting. If we watch this again, and we will, you'll notice that every single one of those groups, every single one, has one core element to them that is consistent, and that is they're all growth oriented. Every single one of those groups are they inspire or lead to growth, and they are exploratory in nature. There's an exploratory aspect. Someone would call this curiosity, but they're also related to growth. So he was talking about entrepreneurs, book club, weightlifters, scuba divers, runners. So again, every single one of those entrepreneurs, these people create stuff, right? That's like one of the core things that they do. This is a big part of my inner circle. I'd say maybe 70% of my inner circle now are entrepreneurs and founders. So I know these folks, I think, pretty well. And one of the things I absolutely love about them, which is very much aligned with me, is they're out to do stuff. They want to change the world and to make it better. And I love that. I love the audacity of it. I love the fire that they have. And their fire gives me fire, right? I become inspired by them. And my hope is they can become inspired by me, and we're like a springboard. Again, that inner circle of notice, not the negativity, not the, oh, that can't be done, or whatever, but rather this notion of let's go change the world. All right, so that's the entrepreneur. The book club, growth. You're reading books. You're in a community. You're exploring. You're discussing. You're improving your communication, your written communication, probably your spoken communication, maybe even your visual communication. All those things are interwoven into book clubs. And keep in mind, too, it's also a very wholesome activity. I tend to believe that reading is one of the best ways to grow. I probably read on the order of maybe like 100 articles a day. Since I've been up this morning for just a couple hours, I probably already read maybe 20 articles. So I'm a big fan of reading, largely because knowledge is power. So after that, he talked about, I think it was scuba diving, weightlifting, and running. All three of those are skill-based things that are physical, that relate to physical growth in many ways through delayed gratification. So they aren't instant gratification. You actually have to do work. So there's physical labor. There's physical exhaustion associated with each of those, but they are growth related in the idea that when you put in that exercise, when you do those activities, the outcome is you're a better version of yourself than you were before you did those activities. In fact, probably once I finish this stream, I may go for a run with this little character here at my feet. Maybe I'll pull him on stream in a little bit. So going back to what we were talking about, the things he mentioned, I suspect quite intentional and all related to growth and exploration. And I love that. Now, the friends and family is the first one, which is why I stopped, is the first one where this is a bit more general. And I think he's adding this to try to show that he's being inclusive of like a larger group. And I'll just leave it at that.
life partner, all from different backgrounds, but one thing in common, they want to grow.
They want to grow. I swear by this. Strong claim. Arguably one of the most important qualities I look for in people. And as I've told people many times, the day I stop growing is the day I am no longer alive. And I mean this 1,000%. If I stop growing, I'm essentially done. Because I don't know what I'm doing if I'm not growing. And those growth things can be a variety of things. I think that they vary based on where you are with life. Like right now we're in a bit of a bursty mode with Merle, and so I'm not getting all the physical growth that I would like. That's okay. You know, these things happen. Sometimes life throws you curveballs and you have to pivot to be more career growth or intellectual growth and emotional growth, and you don't get it physical, or the opposite. Sometimes you're training for a marathon and you're focusing more on growth that is physical and you don't get like the intellectual growth, right? So it varies, and trying to be consistent I think is important, but also being able to kind of weave and wind, zig and zag with life it can be very important. But the growth element to this, I think, is critical. And it's fascinating because a lot of people, I think, have this mindset, which, and admittedly, I used to have this mindset too. And the mindset is, I'm done. I'm good enough. And anybody that doesn't accept me exactly as I am doesn't really care about me, and I don't need to be any better. Accept me for who I am. I don't think it's that simple. And I think that view is pretty simplistic. And I don't know that that's healthy. I think that there should be this notion of people should be given a chance. And I think that we should look for the qualities in people that are positive and that make them great people. And we should lean into that and use those as discriminators for if they should fit in our inner circle. For example, one of my chief engineer, Urs Muff, he is a very positive guy. He has this outlook that like a lot of things can be done, and he doesn't necessarily articulate this way from the get-go, but once he becomes compelled, he's very much like this, I can do anything. And I love this outlook. I absolutely love it. And this is something that I look at and I'm super positive on and think this is a quality that is fantastic about Urs. Sometimes, though, Urs is not always like super kind with others. Sometimes he can be a little bit grumpy. I can be too. Okay, but the point is that while Urs has one aspect, one characteristic that is really advanced, there are other areas where he can grow. Does this mean that Urs is not enough? No. It means that we're all a work in progress. And as long as we understand this and go in with the mentality of I'm great where I am today. I am the culmination of a huge amount of work, and I need to really be not too hard on myself because there's a lot of things that I do right. at the same time, I should never stop trying to grow. And how fast you grow, how much you grow, that can be determined by you. Some people are very fast in growth. They can take feedback really well. They're highly introspective, and they really want to accomplish greatness, and they tend to grow extremely fast. Taylor Dolezal is a phenomenal example of this. I don't know that I've met many people in my life that are that growth oriented as he is. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's exceptional when it comes to receiving feedback. He doesn't take a defensive posture really at all. He doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't try to fight back. He tries to listen and understand, is the feedback sound? And if it is, he spends his time more on being introspective and trying to figure out how to grow than trying to fight against the feedback and try to prove that the person is wrong. Because a lot of that effort of doing that is really fighting this. I mean, yeah. I think that it's like a defensive mechanism. It's a lot of it is ego, is not wanting to be seen as doing something wrong, or be seen as getting something wrong. These kinds of things. Okay, so let's go back and watch more. But yeah, so he's talking about growth, and he breaks it down to mental, emotional, and physical. And I think those are three really good areas of growth. There's the mental growth, sort of like knowledge, intellectual, this kind of thing. There's the emotional growth. This is more of the stuff that I practice with Stoicism, like Marcus Aurelius. I think that's I think it's both mental and emotional. It's about being able to understand your emotions, control your emotions, and then act rationally. And then the third is the physical growth. This is this just exercise and, be zen with your body. And I do think that these three, it's like this triangle that they're all connected to each other. The better physical growth you have, I often find the easier it is for you to advance in your emotional growth or your intellectual growth. And the reason for that, oftentimes, at least what I find, is that the physical growth will calm you. It will create a sense of clarity, and then your ability to regulate your emotions and also deeply concentrate will increase. So, and vice versa. Like if you are having really good emotional growth, meaning you can control your emotions, you likely will spend less time, I think, being reactive, defensive, victimized, and more just controlling your emotions, understanding what you're feeling, and then growing in these other two dimensions. Okay, let's continue.
Mentally, physically, emotionally. And the conversation, they spark something in me. Your circle is your mirror. You don't rise when you're surrounded by comfort zone.
Yes, I think this part is extremely important, that there's this notion of comfort and growth do not coexist. Comfort and growth do not coexist. I strongly believe this. And as I've mentioned to almost all of you, while I love doing the streaming and I love doing the VODs, it's work. It takes a certain amount of mental focus and energy, at least for me, and it's not something that is easy, in the sense that it's much easier for me to be off stream and off camera, because I have to mentally juggle 1,000 different things, make sure I choose exactly the right words, and this is family friendly show. There's a lot of work involved. It's there's a certain amount of discomfort to it, even if it doesn't appear like it's uncomfortable. But I know that that discomfort is leading to growth. And I can tell even by watching the prior VODs and just like my own ability to articulate myself, my comfort in front of the camera, which is not something I had initially. Like I was actually really kind of nervous about being in front of the camera. Now, I might be moving too far in the other direction. I sometimes have to be like, oh, right, the camera's rolling. Goju, just bring it down a notch, bro. So, but that being said, I will do these things on purpose because I know in my heart of hearts, just like teaching at this place, I will put myself in the line of fire because I want to experience failures. I want to push my boundaries. I want to persist through adversity because I'm well aware that every time I do this, whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger. I'm getting stronger from all of these things. And that's the beauty of going after things that are uncomfortable, that challenge you, is there's almost a direct correlation between that lack of comfort and your growth. And he's, showing more examples of this.
Rise when you're surrounded by curiosity, discipline, ambition. And sometimes, the best mental clarity comes from cutting off the noise. Not everyone deserves your mental strength. Some people, they...
Yeah, so this one. Not everybody deserves your mental strength. Not everyone deserves your time. This is hard. This is not easy. But the truth is, not everyone does deserve your time. And as you are rising to higher and higher things and you're trying to do more and more, what's likely to happen is more people are going to want your time, and you're going to have to become very particular on who gets your time. This is not easy. This is really tough when it's people that you've known for a very long time. And I'm not talking about cutting people out arbitrarily. I think that that's not, hey, Bambi. I think that's not a good thing to do. But I also think that we only live this, well, I'm of the mindset that I don't know what is happening after this life, and so I'm trying to do my best for the time that I have here. That means I have limited time, and so I have to be cautious about how I'm spending it, and in particular, like while I try to be very giving with my time, if I find that people are taking advantage of it, or they're not reciprocating, or they're lacking on these values, or the biggest one is if they're pulling me back or holding me down, these are the ones that I will have conversations with about whether or not we should, whether or not we're on the same path and if we're on the same journey. And oftentimes I think just having a conversation about that can add clarity for both people, that you can still stay acquaintances with the people, but you don't necessarily need to be in the day-to-day with them.
They don't need saving. They need to save themselves. High performer don't guess their circle. They audit it. Comment circle to grab the audit checklist. Why nobody talks about it?
Yeah. So high-performing people, he's saying they don't guess their circle or something. They audit it. Yes. My personal experience has been that for people that are the people that are like trying to change the world, they're very, very particular about who they allow in their inner circle. And again, part of it is that a lot of people want to be in their inner circle. I mean, it makes sense. They've achieved greatness or they're on their way. People can see that. and they need to be very careful. They don't have unlimited time, and they also are trying to stamp out like that negativity. So I encourage all of you to think about this, I think, pretty closely, and try to understand, is your inner circle helping you? Are they hurting you? Are they sort of neutral? And then if they are very clearly like a net negative, after you spent some serious time deliberating on the situation, if they're still very clearly a net negative for where you want to go, and you are very clear on where it is you want to go, you know that this is the right thing for you, it might be time to consider going in separate directions. Maybe. I leave that to all of you and your decision making. It's not a decision for me to make, but more just for me to share in my life. These are the things that have helped me significantly. Again, surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded in these types of qualities. I find if these types of qualities resonate with you, then people that have these qualities or are seeking these qualities, I think, will simply accelerate your ability to achieve these qualities. You springboard off of each other. It becomes much easier, right? When you have other people that are introspective and you're being introspective, they get it, right? When you have other people that understand that failure is not something to be embarrassed about, but something to be proud of, to own your failures. When you fail, they're not going to make fun of you. They're going to be like, this was great. Think about how much you learned from this failure, right? And this was one of the biggest things that I needed to do with cleaning out my inner circle. I had some people that thought that if you failed, you should be embarrassed by this. I think this is some of the worst advice I've ever heard or seen. Failure is, in my mind, an indication that you are pushing your boundaries. That's why you're failing. Well, most of the time, why you're failing. There's other types of failures, like lack of effort. But if you're failing because you're trying to do something that you don't deeply understand, or you're exploring, that takes oftentimes incredible courage. It's something to praise people for, not make fun of them for, not laugh at them or be embarrassed for them for. It's like it takes incredible courage and strength of character to try to put yourself out there and try to do something that you have never done before, and you might not succeed. Okay, so now we're going to watch this second Insta, and I'm just going to let this play all the way through, and I'm mostly sharing this because I am a strong advocate for what he is going to show. So let's give this a whirl. This is not related to the inner circles, really, but it is very much related to growth. Okay, here we go. Let's make sure it's unmuted, and we're off.
Chase real dopamine. Sun, ice, sauna, weights, runs, walks, hard work, breath work, meditate, visualize, design, serve, connect, and create. Do real work. You'll never reach your potential if fake dopamine is always within reach.
One more time.
Real dopamine. Sun,
ice,
sauna,
weights, runs, walks,
hard work, breath work, meditate, visualize, design, serve, connect, and create. Do real work. You'll
hard
never
work.
Reach your potential if fake dopamine is always within reach. Chase real dopamine. Sun, ice, sauna, weights, runs, walks, hard work, breath work, meditate, visualize, design, serve.
We haven't even really gotten into this one, but I want to talk about this one real quickly. Serve. Be in the service of others. This is I think, one of the most incredible life hacks to being a true leader. It probably sounds like it's the opposite, but in my mind, it's actually one of the greatest hacks to becoming, like, living up to the most potential you can as a leader. And that is, you're a servant leader. You lead by servicing others. And in fact, in most of the things that I do in life, this is how I think about what I'm doing. This channel, I'm not the boss. All of you are the boss. I'm in the service of you. Untranslatable metaphor says, I would like an episode on software architecture. I create an episode on software architecture. People are asking for more life advice. I do more things related to life advice. People make comments that the claims that I'm making in one of the episodes are wrong. I revise those claims and I create another episode. Me teaching at this university, I'm trying to help my students. The company that I run, I'm essentially trying to ensure that all the people that are part of my team are growing and are able to have these jobs and these careers. I constantly am not putting myself in the position where I think of myself as I'm in charge. Instead, I see myself as the bottom, and I am trying to lift everyone else up. And what I find is that the best leaders, the absolute best leaders, are the ones that do this. They are constantly in the service of others. Now, they're very picky about the people that they're going to service, so they're not going to waste their time on people that don't deeply care about the things that we're talking about. But once they understand that those people are in that category, then they very much will support them. They very much will become servant leaders to them. And in fact, most of my mentors, including my mentors at this place, do the same thing. They are servant leaders to me. They're there to help me and make me better. And in fact, most of their time is spent on helping me, not helping them. So I think it's incredible that he caught this as serve. I think a lot of people miss this one, and I love that he did it. So with that, I think that we can wrap up our first stream of the day. I'm going to upload the 4K version shortly, and we may do another one later today to talk about the Windsurf Anthropic OpenAI fund. On one of the 20 articles I mentioned that I was reading this morning, this one seems pretty obvious in my mind, but I guess some people are surprised by it. Anyway, we'll take a look at it. It should be a good time. So thanks, everybody. It's been great. We'll talk again soon.